Shalom Barak. This is part two on YouTube. We are discussing entrepreneurship and service in your community. My apologies for the break in the signal. We have returned and we're going to spend, I guess, this other half of the hour doing a complete breakdown of the origins of NomDeWhom and the interdependent relationship built with HHStudio. Thank you for tuning in. And we're listening to this particular song on purpose. And I'll tell you the story about it behind it afterwards, okay? All right. I'll make a great stopping point. We're going to get to the screen support for a little. Operator error. We'll return to that in a few moments. That actually wasn't one of his songs, that was one of mine, along with the heavy metal that you heard. All right, so we're on for 2 minutes so far on YT, and it says that it's catching a charge. So we're going to rock and roll and let it go. All right, so what was up with all those weird heavy sounds with the guitar? And kind of sounded familiar, but I'm not quite sure, right? Let's see here. FD, Shalom Barak, what's up? Now, before we can even get into talking about NomDeWhom, I've gotten another offhanded greeting. First off, FD, I'm greeting this person over here on YouTube. You don't know me. So if you were to call me that, the first thing you need to understand is I translate that as king. I don't know if you understand what alliteration is. Let me break something down for you. I got 5 words for you. Never ignorant, getting goals accomplished. Oh, you do? You know who I am? I go by a lot of names. Bull Classic. I see you. Shalom Barak to you. Judah Starworth. I see you. Shalom Barak. So you know me, huh? If you know me, you would call me by my shit. Y'all know me. Because if you did, you'd be like, what's up, king? And then you'd actually know one of the rightful places that I do hold a throne as a king. You don't know me. And I ain't mad at you. You can hang out for a while and get to really understand what it is I represent. Excuse me. What was I saying? You know that I am angelic discipline. And from that, I will just tell you this much. Where I'm from, no matter how you greet me, I'm going to return a peaceful greeting from our Father to you first. I didn't say a peaceful greeting from me. I said you get a peaceful greeting from our Father. And I will step back and let our Father take the reins in most cases. So You don't even get a chance to get a greeting from me. So you can thank Ravak Hakadesh that you were told 5 words instead of what I could actually tell you that's on my mind. Breaking RFL. Who else is in? Uh, Richard Files. Shalom Barak. No, you don't know me. To know is to be intimate. If you knew me, that means you have sat in a room with me and you try to salute me that way. You may have gotten a response of me reaching across the room and lifting you off your feet. I don't care who you are. There's only been a couple of people who have been allowed to call me that and me remain having a smile on my face and then returning the same greeting. And it's because we were equally never ignorant, getting goals accomplished. No, you don't know me. And you should respect that Shem that you see in front of you, angelic discipline. Yeah, you know that name. However, apparently you don't know the definition of what that name means. An angel is a messenger. Discipline is exactly what it says. I've been training for life. I'm a lifelong, disciplined messenger. I'll give you about 2 more seconds and then I got to get back to where I was at. Really? Family, you ever heard someone tell you that they were 1% black? Oh, yeah? What's that supposed to mean? According from what you can see on the screen, I'm somewhere close to 70% black, about 30% silver. So what are you saying? Selah. Now that you've had your spotlight, I hope you enjoyed yourself. I pray that you get over this particular syndrome that I think you may be suffering under. I entreat you to get a little bit of sunlight. See, the sun's at my back. It's going through my window. Get some sunlight in your life and get some reading in your system and some self-reflection. And when it all comes down to it, find a higher power for you to report to. And I pray you find the one that created everything and is Lord over all creations. I pray that you find some wisdom and that you are guided by a specific Ravak HaKadesh. I pray that you go and find some scrolls that teach you about the Messiah who showed us how we're supposed to live our life. I pray you find those things because if your description of self is 1% black, you are highly lacking in knowledge. Which reminds me of the person who said something about I look poor in the broadcast before it shut down. And I asked, do you know who the poor righteous teachers are? PRT. They represent the 5% nation. Now, does that mean that you walk around looking like you're destitute? You can or you cannot. Does that mean that you walk around with all kinds of jewels and making sure that you are the most audacious person in the room? That wouldn't make you poor. That shows that you have a lot of ornaments on you. Hmm. Righteous. What's righteous? That means you walk with certain standards. That's what I'm talking about, rendezvous. Tada. Thank you. Shukran. Thank you. You see, someone else is stepping up and handling that for me. Righteous means you walk under the standards of Yahweh Elohim, Ravak HaKadesh, At Yashabai HaMashiach. A righteous person is a holy person. A holy person is a noble person. A teacher, they say when there are students, the teacher will appear. 5% Nation teaches people that there's about 85% of the populace who are dumb, deaf, and blind, and there's 10% who's actually taking advantage of it. So there's 5% who go out and try and teach those who are being taken advantage of. Now, does that mean that we're going to spend our life in perpetuity, 5% smart and teaching? No, those numbers are supposed to change. Can't tell you what percent color I am. I'm 100% human being, and I got some marrow in my bones that will tell you my heredity. Because the marrow in my bones produces the blood that gets pumped through the veins and arteries of my body. Pretty dark inside of my body, but I wouldn't say it's black in there. My whole being, my whole embodiment is black. My whole being, my whole embodiment is all light. They try to tell you that black is the absence of light. You make me laugh. Because when the sun is on one side of the earth, I can look out and see the stars. There's light going on. And if you went close enough to those stars, it's not just one little tight ball of light. It resonates and has dust and everything else around it. And all of that is refracting, and reflecting the light that is being emanated from the energy combusting of this sun or this star, because each of those stars is either another sun or a planet or a moon to a planet, a comet, and the only reason we can see them is because of the light. So even though we see darkness, there's a light wave that's traveling, which is emitting light the whole time. Just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's not there. I'm 100% black. I'm 100% all color. There's only certain particles that your eyes are picking up in order for you to register that I am in front of you. Walk a blind person into a room, turn off all the lights, and ask them how many people are in the room without anybody speaking. And then turn on the lights and ask them how many people are in the room without anybody speaking. There's people still in the room, even though the blind person can't see them. How can an artist or musician be a curator? First, it takes knowing what is worth putting in a collection or a portfolio, what is worth hanging in a gallery. It takes a good eye, it takes a good ear. Now, let's step up the game a little bit because we're not talking about a German museum or a French museum. We're not talking about guttural instinct. So let's say we want a Taba collection. You know, they used to have those in a place called Constantinople in Timbuktu. Before Alexandria. And the curators there were responsible for historical records. It wasn't about having a bunch of statues around for people to gawk over because it was a known fact that there's no custom for us to have statues to gawk all over. One of our forefathers thought it was the best idea in the world to take a hammer and start crushing some statues. Then he left it right next to the biggest statue. And when the townspeople came back and they started asking, well, what happened to all the statues? He said, well, you asked that big one over there. That lets you know how ridiculous statues are. That lets you know how far off kilter people's value system can be. So it takes a tuned ear and a crisp eye, not trained ear, not opinionated eye. It takes someone who pays attention to certain details. Not every microscopic detail. Oh, you made a mistake over here, or that. No. That is not appreciating art, because art reflects life. I've yet to meet a perfect person. I've only heard a story about a perfect person. And I warn people all the time, don't mistake me for that perfect person. No. I'm not as nice. I'm still me. And I humbly serve our Creator in order for me to not get in the way. The sound engineer that I met, who we are going to call Foxhour Wisdom, is excellent at playing guitar, excellent at doing effects with a guitar to the point where he could have a whole station set up of it, 8 to 10 different pedals of playing different effects, and he could play 3 different riffs, run it through those all those different pedals, and have his own song just standing there playing a couple of notes on a scale. Then he can put the guitar down, leave the stuff playing, go over to a mixer and adjust the sounds so that everything is playing in accordance and it's a harmonious melody that everybody is enjoying. Now, a person with those kind of impressive skills is somebody that I want to be in league with, because there's some things I can learn and there's some things this person can do that I can't do. But rather that be my teammate than somebody that I'm just watching from across the street. Even if that means I'm gonna put you on the stage, even if I'm not standing there. I want the world to know about you. So what's your name again? You can call me Foxhour Wisdom. Okay. Anybody out there know about you and all that kind of stuff? Well, no, not really. You got that copy written there? No, not really. Hold on, I'll take care of that. About 3, 4 hours later, he receives a video and a screenshot and a link showing that he now is proud copyright owner of the name Foxhour Wisdom. Here's the link to where you can see the certificate of this copyright. And here's a video that is explaining the agreement between Foxhour Wisdom and HHStudio. Any attempts at promotion will all be sent back to the known intellectual property owner, such and such said person's name. Because he has a catalog. I have my own personal catalog, and I've met some people who are developing catalogs. And his own intention was to make sure that he could find a way to supply an umbrella to others because he had even taken that misstep and had not had the chance to register himself. Nobody was going to actually show up at his house and say, "Here's your fair share of what we have accrued in profits." No one was going to show up at his house to do that. He was a part of very many different popular and affluent bands, and they went off and did their thing. However, he had to stay home. He missed. He was actually one of the performers on stage, and he was also one of the people who handled the work and the recordings inside the studio. Because even though you might hear a song and you hear five members of the band playing simultaneously and it sounds great, when they record, it's an individual thing. So what if one of the players doesn't show up? We need somebody who can play this part so we can record it so we make sure the song is ready. So we can put that out there. There's people that are going to show up to hear the live concert, but they only know about the live concert because they heard the song being played on the radio. And if we have it on the radio, we need to have it available on the shelves. If you have a lawn care service, then you give people a card showing that there's a lawnmower on the front and you can call me and I'll come cut your grass. Well, how do I know you'll do a great job? Well, you can call so and so because I went and cut their grass yesterday. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? See that gift. Tada. Thank you. Thank you. Tada. Shukran. Gracias. Some people might think it's a four-letter word. Spasibo. Thank you. Grazie. Grazie. Saludo. I salute you. That would be something you would say if somebody even sneezed. I don't know how saludo turns into blessings. There you go, right? So yeah, I sent the information back. I said, thank you. No one's ever done this for me before. I said, you know what? I'm overdue for some traveling. How about I come hang out with you for a while as soon as I get the chance? So lo and behold, it's been about 18 months around Fox Owl Wisdom. And before I had even met him, I had spent a day to day basis of waking up and doing improvisation instrumentals. That's why there was an album called DJ Microwave 5000 Watts Improvisations Volume 1, because there are more volumes to come. What were you doing 4 years ago in 2021? Well, you see, I was waking up. We're going on 5 years now. Have we made it to 2026 yet? Of course not. I'd be 50 this year. So, yeah, 4 years ago, I was waking up every day, giving thanks to our Father, because that's where I come from. That's where I shall return. And may our Father be pleased when I return. And then I would get about my task for the day. Turn on social media site, preparing to upload something that I may have already uh, completed as a project the night before. It's time to post it up. And as soon as I get done with that, I'm going to make an instrumental. I'm going to go and find a drum kit. That means I'm going to go find an app that has a drum pad kit that I can use on my phone or on my tablet because I'm using a phone and a tablet right now. It's my Nomad Studio. See, that's part of it. I'm using it as a camera right now, but my Nomad Studio takes care of the music, takes care of the recording, and then it takes care of the publishing. That's a full package. So I would wake up and go find a drum kit, open up one of the apps, and it's, oh, hip hop drum kit. Now, that doesn't just mean, a kick and a snare and some hi-hats. There's going to be a melody over here and a bass line over there. So they'll give you a grid with 12 buttons, three on the top, three on the bottom, and two more rows of three in between. And you can tap each of those buttons and it's going to give you a sound. Once you get used to what those sounds are, then you can start making rhythms and cadences and you can actually start up a song. So my challenge to self was every day open up a new kit that I've never seen before or heard any of the sounds. And after I'd gone in and tapped all the buttons to hear what it sounded like, I would produce a melody, or a medley. So it wasn't my choice on what kind of music I was going to play. It could have been anything random. Hold on. Trying to line up a jigsaw puzzle. Oh, nice sunset. I want to watch sunsets with you. I want to finish what I started with you. Make funny faces and act retarded with you. You're back in my reach like a boomerang, and I ain't done with you. You see, I'm not gonna be one of those that stays all PC and everything. Right now it's telling me it doesn't want to line up these puzzle pieces. It's telling me they're not correct. So if TikTok does decide it wants to drop everything, we'll just start it back up. Because, yeah, that's definitely what it's doing. This is about the sixth piece. There we go. Now we're in. Got one person still rocking and rolling, but it's over here in YouTube land. Thank you for hanging out. There may be some more people. It's just that's the only number that I see. That's more than likely incorrect. I don't judge by that. If it's zero, if it's 10, I'm still going to be delivering this message because you can always catch it later. It'll be posted. Coffee. Lost my train of thought. Lose my head if it wasn't screwed on and my shoulders tight. Thank you all for stopping in. We do this on a daily, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern. We talk about entrepreneurship and service in your community. We've been going through a series about origins. Today we're talking about the origins of NomDeWhom and the interdependent relationship with HHStudio. NomDeWhom. You may have heard of the phrase nom de plume. It's your name of pen. So we welcome those who have a nom de plume to showcase their work. The first album of NomDeWhom as a collective is Curator Road, the road to becoming a curator. All right. Because as I was saying earlier, DJ Microwave 5000 Watts is waking up every day making improv beats on a regular basis. So if it was 2021 when that got started, I'll let you all know I took a break last year. So we'll say from 2021 to 2024. It's 3 years. There's 365 days in a year. So what if I have 300 days? Made a beat. 300 beats per year. 300 times 3 is 900. If I dig around enough, I'll get close to a number that's 900 for everything that's saved in my devices. You see, I've got the phone, I've got the tablet, and then there's also the laptop. The laptop. I don't use the laptop for that. It's a 1999 model. I actually have a newer laptop. However, it has been quiet and powered down for over 2 years now because it needs a new fan. Replace the fan and then it'll run fine, it'll be cool, and I can actually do some of my up to current technology work. My 1999 laptop cannot pick up Wi Fi. 900 songs. So I could easily spend the rest of my time and days buried in making sure that I get 900 songs out there, uploaded, registered, and wait for the money to come back. Because out of 900, something's got to hit, right? Well, that's what they were telling musicians or people who wanted to become sound engineers. Okay, go ahead and just crank out some music and we'll put it all back and then we'll figure it all out in the end and pay you out according to the streams. Kiwis? Rhonda. Great question. Give me just a second to finish my thought and I will answer your question because Rhonda Heaton wants to know if I believe in God. Your little sister just got on when you were not looking. Oh, is that what that was? No problems. No worries. No problemo. Do I believe in God? And thank you for liking and subscribing, by the way. Do I believe in God? God is a Germanic term. If you look up the word God in the dictionary, it'll tell you it also means good. It'll tell you that it means the name of a deity. The particular deity that it is describing is actually a personage named Zeus, also can be known as Apollo. However, when you read further on, and it says also recognized by Christians and Muslims and Jewish, that's where the definition is incorrect. God does not mean Yahweh. God does not mean Allah. I serve Yahweh Elohim. And inside of that name, Elohim, is Allah. I made a vow in order to join the Sahaba that says, La ilaha illallah. That means there is no one to worship except for Allah. La ilaha il. There is no one to worship except Allah. They try to hide what that statement really says. It says, La ilaha illallah. There is no one to serve except for Allah. Allah is the creator of everything, ruler of all worlds and creation. Maliki Yawmiddin, ruler of all creation, including the day and the path that we walk on. I believe in our creator. I work for and with our creator. I came from our creator. I shall return to our creator, and may our creator be pleased when I return. I mean, I pray that that answers your question. You see, I had to go and learn the root words and the terms. God in entomology, or etymology actually. Entomology is the study of bugs. Etymology is the study of language and its root terms. Gut. That whole vernacular, that whole way of speaking is not the same as the vernacular and the way of speaking for the scriptures and standards that I have come across in study. The languages that would have been used would have been Farsi or Persian, what is known as Arabic now. Persian is what people call phonetic. Those phonetics was what was taught to the Mycenaeans, what people call the Greeks. Greek is not their name. That's like calling an Asian person Oriental. They were the Mycenaeans. Their civilization was called Greek. It doesn't make them Greek. Well, that's Greek to me. Exactly. So the Persians taught the Greek phonetics in their customs. And it went beyond just here's how you think and speak and talk. This is how you walk. And these are the rules that we use. And we're going to write it with these characters that you can understand because we use these over here. You've shown that you can't really understand when we're talking to you in our native tongue. So we're going to use something that's similar. That's the alphabet compared to the alphabet because the Parsi or Farsi or Persian tongue is very similar to the Eber or Avri or what people call Paleo Hebrew tongue. And if you blended them together, you would get what's called the Aramaic tongue. However, it started with that Eber. The people that came across them couldn't pronounce the name right, and so they changed the name. It was already Avra people. It was already Ivri people. It was already Eber as the Shem of a certain person who came from those people. That's where I walk. See, Adam didn't know anybody named God. Who's that? What's that? That's not. No, I've been told to name animals and all kinds of things. I've never heard of that before. What is that? Does not sound Tabah. That does not sound constitutional. It's not part of the law that I was taught. That sounds foreign or alien. That sounds like it's outside of the garden. And you know, the garden was a lot larger than your backyard. So enter NomDeWhom, because Foxhour Wisdom is a person who even considers himself a shaman. He's been over to Asia. He spent time with certain scholars and certain monks. He's been to Tanzania. There's an island called Dar as al Islam. Sounds great. Island of Islam. This is where the Caliphate live. The Caliphate are the ruling class. They live in an island outside the shores of Tanganyika. He's been there. And he's also been around the countryside of Tanganyika. And he knows how to speak Swahili better than me, but not to the best degree. And so we exchanged on that, and that made us have a quicker and faster and better bond because of his appreciation for the original culture, for what it stands. And so he had 1,000 questions that he wanted to know. Well, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? What have they said about this? What do they say about that? I hear you're working with a brother who is a teacher. He is a kahalet. Well, what does he teach? What does he know? How does he handle that situation? What does he say about that over there? Does he even think about the stuff right here? Yes, 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 and yes, and I'll get back to you about that. And hold on, he's going to be talking about that in a couple of days. Well, I know that in your studies you do this and this and this, and I've heard that over there about it. Well, that's why I'm here in your face, is because I want to give you the opportunity to hear a whole different perspective from someone who is not being taught a certain way because everybody said it had to be that way. How about getting a perspective from someone who just wants to walk in and actually learn what the culture is really about? And to make sure that everything is on the up and up and that it is standard and that it is walk in alignment with righteousness because there's one way. And as long as it lines up with that one way, we're speaking the same logic. In Latin, that's called homologia. Homologia, same logic. Latin comes from Persian. The things that are spoken in Latin that later turned into the language of the Mycenaeans came from Persia. The standards in Persia came from the kingdom of the shepherds. How do I know that? Because one of the major leaders of the kingdom of the shepherds was this guy named Abraham. And if you're in Arab, you would say Ibrahim. Ibrahim had a son named Ishmael. Ibrahim and Ishmael did not part ways until Ishmael was a lad. That means he was at least 14 years old. If he was 14 years old, he had to go through certain rights and privileges and observances, and he had to learn a few things. So before he and his father parted ways, he knew the ways of his father. So even when he and his mother Hagar went to the next land, that does not mean all of a sudden he dropped everything he was doing. Because if you don't know, you should know they did reunite. Yes, Ibrahim did go back and find his son, and they still spent more time together. He didn't just run off and forget his offspring. His offspring did not forget his father. So even though they were in a different land, they may have been speaking Hagar's tongue. Ishmael still knew his father's tongue and his father's ways. So just because a person claims to be an Arab, it doesn't mean that they're still following the ways of Ishmael, who would have followed Abraham, who would have followed Noah and Methuselah and Adam. And none of them knew somebody named God. Are you with me? Picking up what I'm putting down. Foxal knew these things. And he knew that I do have a wish to go over to Ethiopia, what is known as Axum, or what is known as Kush. He knows this. He knows I want to go to Tanganyika. He knows that I want to do a whirlwind tour. I want. In the name of Allah, subhanahu wa ta'ala, inshallah, basmallah, in the name of our Father, by our Father's will, I want to do something that I've only heard about twice. Once it was done by a guy that we know named Michael Jackson. Go around the world, and every time you do a tour, wherever you happen to be, it's a benefit to help that local area so that if there is anyone living in destitution, their quality of life is increased so that they are living to the best of their ability. Don't ever come to me smiling, talking about you living your best life. Because if you look at me and you think that everything is hunky dory and everything is fine, you're sadly mistaken. Just because I don't tell you doesn't mean that everything's fine. I fast like David on a monthly basis. Some of that is not by choice. Sometimes I wake up and my body says, no, we're not eating today because I'm not hungry. Sometimes I wake up and my mind says, no, we're not eating because there's no food. Either way, my body has been trained to where I'm used to fasting on a daily basis because of the life that I've chosen to live. No, I don't have somebody showing up handing me a check on Friday. No, I don't get a magic check that comes in the mail. I walked out of the house with the clothes on my back and the shoes on my feet and barely had a bag. I've done that several times around and got to the point where, yeah, well, I'm going to come back and get this duffel bag because I need that. Well, you still hadn't said nothing about how you eat. Well, it's called food, water, and shelter, room, and board because I get paid what I weigh. If something needs to be fixed, I'm the first one to step up and try to figure out a way to fix it while doing the work that I'm supposed to be doing for our Father. I could tell you all day long that yes, I have a PayPal link. Yes, I have a Cash App link. It's not going to do any good unless you engage. Because yes, I do have a PayPal link. Yes, I do have a Cash App link. Yes, I do have an e-wallet. And yes, you can look on my profile and you can see the information of how you can go to it at any time. And I'm not asking for money. I'm telling you, if you go and find it and you visit it, then tell me about some kind of custom project you'd like for me to do or request for me to help you out with some tutoring or whatever the case may be. Or if you do want to give it as just a gift, I am most, most obliged towards you and thankful. You see, I've been around doing this for quite a while. And no, I haven't had my hand out. There's been a few people who have supported me, whether it's being there as an ear and a shoulder or someone who actually helped me out in a bind. However, really, no, I'm eating off of whatever is provided as sustenance. When you see me talking about Subhanahu wa ta'ala, all praises to the source of sustenance and mercy, it's because that's what I live on a day to day basis. My sustenance comes from the mercy of the one who created us all. I get fed according to those who are moved to know some mercy. No, I don't go door to door asking people for food. You'd be surprised what you can do with some beans and rice and some lentils. Specifically, I like black beans, I like lentils, I like rice, I like quinoa, Quinoa. I'll throw that in with some brown mustard.